Justice. So why did I pick the word justice? And you have the first slide already. So I've got my slides are 5 in 1, so I was allowed to because I'm not very skilled when it comes to IT, and I couldn't put my 5 slides into one. But so that's my first slide. And justice, the concept of justice, why it's very important for me, and I think why it should be very important to everyone. So we know science tells us to reduce emissions by 50% by 2030. So we know that. So we're not questioning that. We have the technologies to do that. We know what we need to be doing. We also know how to, because climate change is already happening, we also know how to live, what we need to do to live with those changes. So in other words, we need to adapt. So in the EU, I'm using the EU Fit for 55 package here as an example. So EU is a leader in climate policy in the world and has decided to reduce emissions by 55% compared to 1990 and do it by 2030. So it's the picture. What you see here is from the, either it's from the DG Klima or European Parliament, I can't remember. But what you see is a paper boat on a relatively calm sea. There seems to be enough wind to sail it smoothly to the target. But the reality is very much different now. First is the geopolitics has changed. We're still living the consequences of COVID, so the context has changed. But what we're trying to do is to change our economies very fast. And this goes through structural change. So we need to change. We need different industries, different ways of producing energy, and this transformation is not similar to those we have lived already, or people have lived through already, because it needs to happen very fast. So practically what we're seeing is to something that's very similar to command economy. So we have to change. We have to set targets, tell industries what to do, and we're trying to do it in the context of market economy, free markets. And what this means that there'll be losers and there'll be winners, winners and losers. Next slide, please. So now we're starting to implement the policies. And Rom already mentioned the farmers. And you suddenly see protests. People coming on the streets and saying that was the farmers also were protesting against the new climate targets for them, 2040 targets. See, next slide. Then you see the head of Belgian central bank saying that policymakers have to be honest, this transition makes us all poor. Next slide. Then example from Norway. So this picture is sent to me by a friend of mine who works in the Ministry of it's an energy and oil in Norway. And where Greta Thunberg and Samis were blocking the door and he didn't get to his office. So as you can see, there's loads of perceived or real injustices related to that transition when we have started implementing climate policies. And these need to be dealt with. Next slide. So IPCC also tells us that what we need, that the human factors are really important when it comes to fighting or tackling climate change, so that we need to trust each other. Certainly we don't. So some people are scared that something will be taken away from them. We need to share the burden. We're trying to do the burden sharing between member states, between people, but we also need to share the benefits. And it looks like that some people believe that they won't benefit. Collaboration, we need to collaborate, work together, and something we need to learn also. And recognition for these steps that have already been taken, but also recognizing that some can't move as fast, and also recognizing that there are people who are already marginalized and that these people will will need to face or will have to face negative consequences of climate policies. And that this is very much related to the concept of just transition. So if people don't feel that the transition is just, then it's very difficult to move fast, almost impossible. But I think when we think of Pacesetters and think of all these concepts that IPCC is showing us, then can we really imagine our future when there is no fossil fuel burning anymore? I don't think we can. Can those people imagine that what are the benefits they gain who now feel that they're going to lose their jobs? Or this coal industry or farmers? So I think Pacesetters has a role here, sort of to help people to see what the benefits will be, or also just imagine the future, like without burning fossil fuels. What would it look like? We don't know. And that makes us feel, even if we don't really, actually don't suffer from the injustices, that makes us feel that there are injustices, or might be. So it's something we really need to think. And I think this project can help us to imagine and help to remove those barriers that we face now to implementation. And I think I stop here. Thank you.